Nike are losing ground. This is a graphic showing the Nike share price in the last 5 years. In September 2021, the share price was here. Fast forward to September 2025, and the share price is here. That share price in September 2025 is a drop of 59.49% from its peak. What's worse though is something crazy happened recently. This graph shows Nike's total revenues each year for the past 20 years. Recently, it got flat, and then it fell. COVID year aside, Nike don't do falling revenue. I mean, it's Nike. So what is happening? And how on earth has this behemoth of a company and the greatest sports retailer of all time started to slip? And more importantly, who is coming to take their spot? I'm Jordan, and I'm on a mission to bring the business of sport to 1 million people. Today, we discuss the recent history of Nike, my favorite brand.
The giant has witnessed its biggest drop in sales since the pandemic.
I went from seeing Nike everywhere to seeing these. Seriously. These old man trainers have been everywhere in London for the past 2 years, and I'm going to explain how we got here. Nike started to falter about 5 years ago, and there's 3 things that led us to this point. The first was started by this man. This is CEO John Donohue, and he was appointed in 2020. He was a digital guy. In fact, he wanted Nike to go store less. His idea was a simple one: increase the direct-to-consumer model, cut out the middleman, and Nike would make more margin per item. On paper, it made sense. He cut ties with local retail partners. He also cut ties with major retailers like Macy's or Foot Locker. With less non-Nike stores where they had to distribute their product, they kept more control. Nike were pushing people onto the Nike.com app, the sneakers app, and of course their own Nike flagship and outlet stores. At first, it worked. Margins were up and digital sales, especially during COVID, were through the roof. But then the world reopened, and the cracks started to show. Without Nike on shelves, retailers started filling the gaps. Puma, Hoka, On Running, New Balance. And once those shoes started selling, buyers started to reorder them very quickly. Suddenly, Nike was not the automatic choice. Problem 2 was inventory. In the COVID years when things were booming, Nike flooded the market with product. Inventory in North America was up 60% year on year. But what do you do when you have stock? You gotta shift it. Nothing kills the magic of a product more than seeing it discounted at cheaper prices. Nike trainers, which used to sell out overnight, were being sold at discount stores, which ruined the appeal and the idea of scarcity. Problem 3 was China. For years, China's been Nike's fastest growing sector, but COVID lockdowns and political pressures slowed that around 2022. In 2022 itself, revenue in China fell by 20%. For a company that relies on China growing, falling 20% was a big problem. So that's the backdrop. Those are the 3 things that made Nike begin to falter. And the worst thing for them is there were some bloodthirsty vultures swirling to take the crown from the king. I've mentioned some of them already, and in your mind, you probably know who some of these companies are. But the best way to give context to this is to group them into 3 categories. Because historically, Nike have been the king in all 3 of these categories anyway: lifestyle, running, and performance. We'll start with lifestyle. And I bring back New Balance. For years, they were the uncool brand, the dad shoe. Functional, reliable, not very stylish. But then, I'm gonna bring them back again. This happened. The 530. I bought these for my wife. They cost me an arm and a leg. I've then bought 2 more pairs because she absolutely loves them. I see them everywhere in London. When I go to New York, I see them. When I go to Paris, I see them. They're everywhere. Men, women, young and old. And it's not just that. There's more New Balance silhouettes out there now than ever before. And how did they do that? Well, they collaborated smartly. Drops with Aimé Leon Dore, Jaden Smith, Jack Harlow. Even though they're everywhere, they didn't flood the market like Nike did. The brand almost feels premium now. On top of that, as I'm recording this video, I think they've got the sickest ad campaign out there right now. We Got Now features Otani, Sydney, Coco, Jamal Murray, Bukayo Saka, Tyrese Maxey. Cam Brink's in there too. It's a perfect selection of athletes in each sport. I'll be honest, I'll buy anything that Sydney tells me to buy.
A potato food.
And the numbers tell the story. Back in 2019, revenue for New Balance was $3 billion. In 2023, that number was $6.5 billion. 2024, it was $7.8 billion. It's more than doubling in just 5 years. And it's more than 20% growth year on year. For a privately owned company, it's incredible. And then of course there's Adidas. The 3 stripes have been through a bit of a chaotic period. Don't let the internet tell you. The Yeezy deal was a massive hit initially. In fact, what am I wearing right now? When it fell apart, they repositioned out of it with a trick up their sleeve. The revival of the classics. The Samba, the Gazelles, and the Campus. These silhouettes have been around forever. but they became cool again. On TikTok, on celebrities, and on runways. Gucci did a drop with Adidas. Bad Bunny reinvented the campus. Wales Bonner made the samba cool again. Adidas got their cool back, and they've been taking some of Nike's cake as a result. Now, that's the lifestyle section out of the way. We move on to running, and that's where Nike has always reigned supreme. The Pegasus, the Vaporfly, the Alphafly. They've been the king here for decades. But in the last 5 years, two outsiders have sprung up out of nowhere. First is Hoka. Hoka are owned by Deckers. They started in the mountains. Big, cushioned midsoles designed for endurance runners or ultra marathon runners. Initially, people laughed at the look of them, but then they tried them and they carried on buying. Revenue in 2019 was $220 million. Revenue in 2023 was $1.4 billion. That's 6x in just a few years. But then it changed. It's not just runners anymore. It's nurses, it's creatives, it's celebs. Everyday people wear Hokas now. It's like comfort has become culture. And then there's On Running, my favorite brand. Cloud Monsters, Cloud Monster 2s. I'm an On Running guy. In fact, let me get right. On Running went public in 2021. Since then, revenue has soared past $2 billion. Some years saw growth of 50% year on year. It's obscene. If you look at this graph too, they also have better margins than Nike. The business is a monster. The trainers are some of the comfiest I've ever worn, and they've marketed very well. Roger Federer is a famous investor and product designer. Burna Boy is one of their biggest ambassadors. Iga Swiatek leads the way in tennis, and Zendaya is their marquee celeb endorser. This is how major players like Nike get disrupted. It's not by beating them head to head, it's by marketing and telling a better story. Hoka is for comfort. On Running is for tech and design. And in both cases, they've eaten into the spaces where Nike used to be number one. And then of course, there's athleisure. Nike again have always been untouchable here. Hoodies, leggings, tracksuits, sport as everyday fashion. Tracksuits used to be Nike and Nike only, but in the States, Lululemon is coming for their spot. Lululemon is big in the UK, but it's significantly bigger in the States. And the numbers prove it. Revenue in 2017 was $3 billion. In 2023, it was $8 billion. That run was faster than all of the brands I've mentioned up until now. Other brands are coming too. Vuori is big on the west coast of America. Aloe is also growing big in America. In the UK, Adanola, Tala, and Represent are occupying spaces that Nike once did. These brands are nowhere near as big as Nike, but they have stolen the momentum. And as mentioned earlier, that momentum has led to Nike's falling share price. And that's exactly where today's sponsor, Lightyear, comes in. Lightyear is an easy-to-use investment app that allows you to track, buy, and sell publicly traded stocks across the US and Europe. If you are bullish on Nike, you can buy the stock in the app in just a few clicks. If you buy them within a Stocks and Shares ISA, all US stock purchases come commission-free too. Note that the currency conversion fee of 0.35% will apply. But it's perfect for all the publicly listed American companies that I've named in this video so far. If you sign up using my code TheLongPlay, you will get a free share up to £100 whenever you verify and fund your account. In the app, there's two places to enter the discount code. One is when you're setting up your account. If you don't do it there, in settings, when you're in the app, you can apply it too. Once your account has been funded, you'll see this screen, like I did. Remember, this is not investment advice. The value of your capital can go down as well as up. Visit the link in the description to download the app and to keep track of the share prices and the performance of all these amazing companies. Now, we've been talking smack about Nike throughout this video, but there's an important clarification to make. It's not all bad. They are still doing some things right. To give you an idea, this is a graph showing all of the revenues of every single company I've mentioned in the video so far. On and Deckers are the new kids on the block, but as you can see, they even have some way to go to get to Under Armour, let alone Nike. Don't worry, we're gonna get to Under Armour later. Then Lululemon and New Balance come next, but even still, they're way off. Puma and Adidas are next, then you get to Nike. Through all of this Nike are faltering talk, the share price is down talk, they are still very dominant. And one of the things they have in their back pocket is this man.
You need the greatest basketball shoe that's ever been made.
Who's the player for the shoe?
Michael Jordan.
The Jordan brand is a monster. In 2025, the Jordan brand alone is bigger than most of these companies on this graph. And the last reported revenue numbers for the Jordan brand were $6.6 billion, which if we place the Jordan brand by itself on this graph, it would be here. Jays aren't just crepes anymore. They're culture. Most releases sell out. They've got a full roster of NBA athletes. Zion, Tatum, Luka. Even in the NFL, you see Jumpman, cleats. PSG have a massive partnership with the Jordan brand. It's massive and it's growing. And Jordan isn't the only institutional advantage that Nike has. Yes, the rivals are chipping away category by category, but Nike have stitched themselves in the fabric of each sport themselves. The NBA, the NFL. Every dunk, every touchdown, every highlight, the swoosh is there. Nike got the NBA deal in 2015. It's an 8-year contract worth a reported $1 billion. That made them the official jersey supplier in the NBA every season. Look at this jersey here. I'm born and raised in London, but the Bulls jersey has been iconic to me my entire life. Probably that man MJ again. I bought it a few years ago. The Nike logo is all over it. And that contract has been extended. Nike will be the official kit supplier to the NBA until 2035. That's 2 full decades of dominance. Then, the NFL. Look at my Packers jersey. Nike replaced Reebok as the NFL's kit supplier in 2012. That got extended to 2015. That got extended again in 2018. The current extension runs until 2028. But think about what that means. No other brand that I've mentioned today has that institutional scale. Yes, Adidas has the Champions League football. Puma has some Formula 1 stars. New Balance, as we saw earlier, has some individual sponsorships with some great athletes. But Nike owns the leagues. And then, of course, there's football, and this is where things get a little bit more complicated. On the player side, Nike have been losing ground. Messi is Adidas, Neymar left Nike for Puma, my guy Jude Bellingham is Adidas, Bukayo Saka is New Balance. But one by one, the brightest stars are seemingly spreading their wings and going to competitors. If you've been a follower of my channel for some time, you'll know I made a video on this very topic in the summer of 2024. That video changed my life. But despite the players leaving, Nike still have a very strong foothold. Look at the teams. The England team, the France team, the Holland team, the Portugal team, the USA team. And we know where the World Cup is going to be in the summer of 2026. I sense a shift of Nike focusing a little more on teams than players, and there was no bigger advert for this than the Champions League final of 2025. Inter versus PSG. Both teams, 2 Nike clubs. That final was mad. No one expected that result, but on the biggest stage with millions of people watching around the world, Nike was everywhere. That's the difference. Nike may be losing some players, but at the institutional level, they reign supreme. Now, I mentioned earlier on in the video that we're going to discuss Under Armour. And trust me, we're going to speak about them in a second. Their demise is not to be missed. But before I get there, thank you. If you're still riding with me, that means you're a nerd. And you will have some nerd friends. So be sure to like this video and to share with your friends, your group chats, and your mates. The comments that you guys send me on a daily basis are so humbling to read. Thank you so much. It means the world to me to build this platform. Now, Nike are down, but they're not out. Because if you want to see what out really looks like, then we need to look at Under Armour. Under Armour were once the hottest name in sportswear. They had Steph Curry, prime Steph Curry, 2016 Steph Curry. They had The Rock, prime Rock, not skinny Rock. They had Andy Murray, Grand Slam winning era Andy Murray. And they had my guy, Anthony Joshua, prime AJ. What a force. Revenue exploded through the early 2010s. $2 billion in 2010, $5 billion in 2016. That's a faster run than any of the companies that I've named so far. The stock peaked at $50 a share, but then it started to unravel. The 3 categories that I mentioned earlier, lifestyle, performance, and running, they tried to conquer all of them too fast. None of it really stuck. The Curry brand didn't grow like the Jordan brand. The women's wear didn't rival Lululemon. The fashion moves never landed. By 2017, sales were slowing down. And by 2020, they were cutting jobs. 2021, they were closing stores. In 2025, revenue is still $5 billion. That's bigger than some of the other companies that I've mentioned today that are growing very fast. But $5 billion is similar to the revenue that Under Armour had 10 years ago. The stock today is barely $7, almost 80% down from its peak. Under Armour is the cautionary tale, a brand that rose quickly, had hype, but then lost its relevance. And that's the contrast. Nike are stumbling, but they are not Under Armour. So where does that leave us? Are Deckers and On Running the new age Under Armour equivalents? Time will tell to see. And can Nike rebound? They are down, but they are not out. Nike are a little bit like Drake. They're still #1 by far, but it's not as automatic as it once was, which is ironic because Nike and Drake have a fascinating relationship with each other themselves. If you want to see my previous video on athletes leaving Nike, I made it last year. It was a different time. Click right here. But if you want to see the latest version, go to thelongplay.co.uk for more content. I'm Jordan, and as always, thank you for watching.